Hey everyone, welcome to another video review. It's been a while since I've done an actual video review of one of my collectibles, so fear not, I'm not leaving that behind, to go off and do a lot of video game commentary and stuff like that. But I've just been sort of involved playing Killzone and putting together some videos there using the capture card, which I just bought, and I've been kind of interested in kind of trying it out and using it. But the heart of my channel will still be collectible reviews. And so I just got back actually from San Francisco, and I wanted to talk about this beautiful piece from the Walt Disney Classics collection. This is Snow White, Soups On, that's the name of this piece. And I have an interesting story to tell about it, if you'll bear with me. Again, there are some people who just want to kind of like look at the collectible, look at the cool stuff, and they don't really want to hear much about the details. But there's others who I think might be interested in my personal story in acquiring it. So some background about the piece. This is, again, from the Walt Disney Classics collection. It is all made out of fine porcelain, which we've talked about in earlier videos, how difficult it is to make something of this astounding quality out of porcelain with all its vibrant colors, all its fine detail. In reality, it is something that I've really only seen from the Walt Disney Classics collection in terms of how good it is. And this piece is even more special because it's from one of course, Disney's crown jewels, the original Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And this is the first piece in a line of the Walt Disney Classics collection called the Signature Series. And this is kind of like their cream of the crop, the best of the best. Their most ambitious pieces are part of the Signature Series line of sculptures. And this is the inaugural piece. And so to celebrate that, they chose Snow White. And the reason this is called Soups On is because it shows Snow White serving all seven dwarves, dinner and giving them soup. It was inspired by a scene from the movie that was cut from the original movie. It was storyboarded, and they even, I think, had songs and everything written for it, but they never went ahead and animated it because it, affected the pacing of the movie. But it was a scene that I guess was near and dear to many people, and so they decided to pay homage to that scene by creating a Walt Disney Classics collection sculpture. They call these the Signature Series because they want these pieces to be signature moments from the movie, some of like the highlight of the movie itself. And so they were very, very ambitious. So these are very detailed, expensive pieces. This is huge, as you can see by my hand on the actual table. Ambitious in scope, beautifully done. And so they weren't cheap. I mean, this piece, when it was originally released, retailed for $2,000. I think the dealers maybe would get this piece for $1,600, maybe, and then typically they would sell for $1,800 to $1,900 on up. So with tax and all of this other stuff and shipping, you're looking at this piece in the neighborhood of about $2,000. So I remember first watching it and seeing it when I walked through one of the stores that sold Walt Disney Classics collection pieces. Of course, in 2019, all of this is ancient history. Pieces of this quality simply are not made and are not sold anymore. But back then, they did. A certain hobby shops, Hallmark stores, etc., would have the Walt Disney Classics collection label. There would be gold circle distributors. So I remember first seeing this piece and being so utterly blown away by again, the quality, by the subject matter. There's very few pieces with all seven dwarves together, and it's just so ambitious to have all of them in one consolidated work of art. And so I remember when I saw this, I mean, it must have been, 20 years ago. It just dominated the display. It was something that had never been seen before, and just everybody was oohing and eyeing over it. And at the time, $2,000 for me at the time, it might as well have been $20,000. It was just completely out of my financial range. But I remember admiring it. And so as time passed, I won't go into all of the history of the Walt Disney Classics collection, but the line essentially over time it ended, and I saw a lot of pieces kind of depreciate and fall. And about 6 years ago, I was just sort of skimming through Craigslist listings. I do that occasionally, and I saw a listing for this piece for a really, really good price. To be honest with you, I don't even remember the price. I think it was down about maybe to $1,000, $1,200. It was, almost 50% off. And it was from an elderly gentleman who was looking to liquidate his collection. He was getting older. He wanted to move some of the pieces. And he lived in the San Francisco Bay Area. Now, I had bought this before, actually, for a really good price. But unfortunately, it didn't have the box. And then when it was shipped to me, the seller promised that he would, package it as well as he could, and he swore that it wouldn't break. And it came, and of course, the piece was broken. Snow White was shattered off of her feet, which, by the way, is a break that often happens. Okay, because as you can see down here, her ankles are pretty small, and again, very easily cracked with any sort of force. So I did have a very fleeting instant when I had the piece, but with Snow White, unfortunately, was broken, so I had to claim insurance, and so I didn't have it after that. So the opportunity arose then to obtain the piece, and after that incident, I was really reluctant to try to buy this particular piece shipped. I just felt that the chance of damage was too high. After going through the stupid claims process, I didn't want to go through it again. So the opportunity to me from San Francisco Bay Area was really, something I was very interested in because it allowed me to obviously get it in person. Now, I'm from Southern California, and so it was still a little bit tricky. My parents live in San Fran, and so what I decided to do was try to arrange to, again, pay him cash. Got a better deal because I paid in cash and get it in person. And the opportunity arose 6 years ago when one of my best friends, his younger brother, was getting married. And so we were invited, and so my wife and I flew to San Francisco to attend the wedding, and we had a few days before that happened. And during that time, I actually met the gentleman, and I bought the piece from him in person, paid cash, and then I got the whole thing, the box, etc., and I brought it to my parents' house. Now, obviously, the box is too big to put it on the airplane, and so I just simply packed up everything very, very carefully, and I put it in my mom and dad's closet, with the idea that somehow, some way, I was going to get it down here, and I did not want to ship it even with its original packaging, again because of the fear of the breakage, and because of how rare the piece is. And if you can believe it, it sat in my parents' house for 6 long years, because I just never had an opportunity to ever drive down there or drive up there from Southern California, and there wasn't ever any time to do it. And so this past Christmas, I actually did manage to drive to San Fran. I guess the stars aligned. And so I managed to drive up there. While I was there, I took the opportunity to bring the piece finally back home where it belongs. So my parents were pretty happy to, again, get rid of this big box that's in their closet. So that odyssey, if you can believe that, took 6 years before I could get finally Soups On in my hands, in my home, and here I am reviewing it for you. So before going into the sculpture itself, it comes in a beautiful box. I'm going to show you that. It's actually a gold box. So most Walt Disney Classics Collection pieces come in green boxes, right? And that's kind of their signature thing. But here, this piece was so special, it actually came in a gold box. One of the first, I believe, Walt Disney Classics Collection pieces to come in a gold box, and also came with this beautiful little, I don't even know what to call this thing, like a little leather box to put all of the other things that you get with it. So we're going to open this up. And so the first thing you see the attention caution, that usually goes on the outside. And you have the certificate of authenticity. So this is the signature series, Soups On. It shows you all the characters on it. And it is a limited edition of 1,851 out of 1,937. And the edition number, of course, is to honor the year that Snow White was originally released. Okay, so it's sealed. And then you actually have a little booklet explaining the background of the scene. So I'm not going to belabor the point by reading it for you, but I'm just going to sort of slowly scan it so you have the ability to pause and read it yourself and admire the artwork. Quite beautiful. Okay. And then we'll go on the other side. And then, of course, the last page right here. So a very nice booklet, sort of, again, detailing the history of the piece. Music in Your Soup, the story of the legendary lost soup scene from Walt Disney's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And then finally, they actually put in, this shows you how old this piece is. They actually put in a VHS cassette tape that shows the scene itself as storyboarded. So this is, of course, truly shows you the antique nature of this collectible. I'll be honest with you, I don't even know if this works because, you know, tape has a finite lifespan. It's been decades. And I don't even have a VCR to watch it. So this sort of, again, shows you how old this piece is. Okay, so I think that's quite charming, actually, that it has that. So we'll put everything back where it belongs. So this goes in the box, and that's what it comes with, almost like this nice little fall book. Most Walt Disney Classics Collection pieces just comes, of course, with a simple certificate of authenticity. So this kind of, again, they really wanted to go the extra mile in everything to show you how special this is. We'll put that aside, and now finally, we can delve a little bit deeper into the actual piece itself. I have, I guess, a black background. I'm doing this during the daytime, actually, amazingly. So even though my kids are here, they're upstairs kind of playing quietly, so I have some time to showcase this. So, I mean, just such a beautiful, beautiful work of art. Each of the dwarves around the table, you know, drinking their soup with Snow White, and every single dwarf has its own character, so beautifully depicted, and then acting in harmony. And you can see, of course, Snow White with her hands on her hips, looking over the seven dwarves. So gorgeous. So I'm going to just kind of get a close up. Here she is, beautifully done. And then let's just try to move around. You can see the glistening of the soup. So there's a little bit of, like, you know, resin in there. Just kind of to kind of give you the illusion of soup, and the little mugs with the water or ale or whatever it is. So you can see Grumpy, and each one, again, you know, it's just so beautifully showcases the reason for their name. So here's Grumpy, you know, you got Sleepy, Happy, Bashful, and then on the other end, you've got Sneezy with his big nose. You have Doc with the actual real glasses, okay, put on him. So again, beautifully done. And then, of course, Dopey with a little bit of soup. So there's a lot of areas that you can imagine for breakage. You know, this thing could snap off, the glasses could break, Snow White could snap off as well. And of course, you have the table, beautifully done, and all of the kitchen, all of the forks and spoons, all of the little cups, the bowls of soup. This is all made out of porcelain, but it's, you know, just carved and done so cunningly that you know, you would never think that it wasn't actually wood. So done very, very beautifully. You can see the wood here. There you have it. All of the different carved grain, and all of it, of course, on the wooden floor here as well. So here you go. Trying to, again, showcase the quality of the work. And then we're going to back off so you can see all of it from all the different angles. So here she is looking at all of them. Yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite pieces. I'm so glad that I got it. I'm so glad I finally can display her. So glad I finally got her home after 6 years. So turning around, aerial view of the dwarves. Beautiful. Here she is, Snow White looking out over them. Did a great job with her face. Also true and accurate to, again, the movie. You can see a little stitching here. Their individual clothes. So just, you know, this is a tour de force, again, of porcelain sculpture. Every one of those signature pieces were just amazing in the beginning, at least. So anyways, I mean, hopefully you enjoyed that little interlude. And I don't know what else there is to say, just to kind of continue looking at all the different aspects of the porcelain sculpture. Hopefully you can appreciate the detailing, the beautiful work from behind. So there you go. Thanks again for going through this review with me. And this is the Walt Disney Classics Collection first signature series piece, Snow White Soupçon. So happy to finally get her and the 7 Dwarfs home. I'm just sort of trying to go back and forth, just moving them around so you can actually see the entire piece in all its glory. Panoramic view. There's no bad shot. I mean, it's just truly a centerpiece. And of course, going through all the different close-ups of all the different dwarves and their personalities, so wonderfully depicted, including Snow White herself, also beautifully depicted. And then of course, the soups, the wood, the chairs, everything. All right, I'll leave you with my favorite perspective right here. Until next time, do take care.